Okay. Our first order of business, procurement, which is on page 9. You have the floor.
Hi, I'm Maureen Doherty. I'm the procurement officer for the town. I have two budgets that I do. I do procurement and I do centralized purchasing. I just wanted people to note, I gave out a little handout, just some of the accomplishments that procurement has done over the last 3 years. I've been here in town for 4 years, and I feel that we have made huge progress.
Bring the mic a little closer.
I feel that we have made huge progress. We have saved the town roughly $1 million, over $1 million in savings from competitive bids. When I first got here, we would never get any responses. We would get one person responding on bids. Now people want to do business in the town of Stoughton. We're seeing our prices come in extremely competitive. I am, I guess what you'd call extremely fiscally conservative. I will negotiate with the vendors. I negotiated a savings from the high school on the architects and the OPM to each reduce their contracts by $100,000. I said, you're above the incentive, you know, the standards that are set by the state, so you need to come down within those standards. And they did. So I tried to do that. I feel that it's my responsibility to protect the town and to save the town as much money as I can. So that being said, if you want to, you know, I have an open door policy. I like people to come in if you want to learn more about procurement and what we do. We're right here on the 3rd floor. So with that, I'm just going to go over my budget. I'm going to start on, I think it's page 9. It's the procurement office budget. We only have 2 changes from last year. The first change is for the deputy procurement officer. When we hired Fran Brutiniti, probably shouldn't say her name, sorry. We hired the assistant. She came in at the 1st level. Since she's been hired, she's obtained her associate MCPPO, which was recommended but not required, but it brings a level of excellence to the office, as well as the job has changed considerably in the last 4 years. 4 years ago, we didn't have $145 million worth of construction that's flowing to that office, and the complexity of duties that have gone through there has changed considerably, so I have asked, and it's been approved so far, for a double-step raise for Fran. So that's where we are. The other item that changed from last year was in-service training and education. With our certifications, we're required to take so many classes every year, attend conferences and trainings, and it was the first time in 7 years that the Office of the Inspector General raised their prices, so I raised my line item to reflect that cost.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
that's what everything else is the same.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Anybody want to start? No? I'll do a few.
Okay.
Go ahead, Roberta.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned the use of free cash to balance budgets. Is there any free cash being used in this particular budget?
In this budget?
Yep. That's the question.
Other than it's part of the total. I mean, it's all in kind of thing. It's nothing specific to this particular budget, but it's part of the whole total.
And how do we evaluate, for instance, the deputy procurement officer gaining a double raise? I don't understand that.
Well, but on the employee bylaw, that we are slated for a 2.5% raise. Fran's complexity of her duties has changed significantly from when she was first hired, and she was hired at the bottom step, so she's still pretty low on the step raise. But just the complexity of the amount of work that has come in through the construction projects, it's $145 million that we didn't anticipate when she was hired, and she has risen to the occasion has stepped up and taken on some of the duties that I have done, so she's doing things that would have been assigned to me so that I can overtake and perform and manage some of the construction projects.
May I just continue the question?
Yeah, one quick
What
question.
I wanted to know is then, is there a job description and an evaluation of all of these? For instance, do you have a job description and an evaluation, or 2 evaluations a year? I mean, what determines this?
The job description, I do have one of those, and I have done an evaluation of this person.
So you do, she has a job description, you have done an evaluation?
Yes,
Do you have a job description?
yes,
Has an evaluation of your performance been done?
yes.
Okay.
And who do you submit stuff to? Who does it go to, HR? Where does it go after that?
It goes to HR.
And who makes the decision, HR or town manager?
I had brought it to the town manager. They looked, went over the evaluation, went over the change in the scope of responsibilities and complexity in that, and felt that it was warranted.
Well, who does the evaluation?
I did the evaluation.
Of the deputy?
Yes,
Who does your
the
evaluation?
town manager.
The town manager? So that was through you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, you could perhaps ask the proper person. Every year I ask about evaluations, and I've always been told that they have to be negotiated into the contract. Has that taken place? I don't want to ask the same question every single department.
I'm a non-union employee.
Oh, okay, all right. My mistake then. You're non-union.
What about
All
the
right.
deputy person? Is she non-union too?
Non-union employee as well.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your answers.
Okay. Bill?
You said that the deputy completed her MCPPO training. Was that within this past fiscal year? The
She's
associate?
actually up for her full certification come next year, so she did it last year.
Okay, so between these past 2 years, she's
Yes.
become certified and will even rise to the next level beyond associate.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So she'll be beyond associate even after going into the next fiscal year?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Maureen, so the department's been in existence, what, about 4 years? Or,
I believe the idea to establish the office was the result of a 2010 operational audit, and there was somebody in the position before me. I don't know how long that person was in. I will be here 5 years in November.
okay, so at least 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
And if you calculate the savings, would it be accurate to subtract the cost of the department from those savings to come up with a net?
I think you could, and I believe my first time I ever came before you, we were talking about it, and you said, well, there's a list, and people do a bid list. And I said, not on me, I do competitive. And so I want you to know that we have good results for that. But could you say we save our own, we support ourselves based on what
Oh,
we
yeah,
save?
I
Yes.
mean, you do. Now, the DPW, don't they have their own procurement/business manager?
No, when I got here, I was hired by Joseph Feaster, and he started the process of centralizing all procurements to be done under one office. So every other department, because everybody was doing their own, and there was no standards, no same practices, no same forms, everything came up to the procurement office. So no, there is not a procurement officer at the DPW.
All right, so there's a business manager there at DPW?
I think there was a director of administration position.
Is that right? So that's, but they don't deal with procurement?
They would not do procurement. They would basically, I mean, if you look at DPW, it's a multi-million-dollar company that has 6 divisions within it, so they needed somebody who was advanced to be able to help and organize all that financial aspects of those divisions.
And I'll probably ask this of every department head. What if we were to watch some cuts? I mean, we're trying to hire 4 to 8 public safety officers.
If I
Could you
could-
go back to being a one-person department?
Well, you'd have to, if we went back to a one-person department, what would happen, I would immediately tell the town manager that we could no longer support the construction projects, and they would probably have to hire somebody to manage all that. We took that on as an additional service out of our office because there was nobody to do that. We do it for both the library and the high school, and it came to our office because I also am a certified construction manager. I have 21 years of construction behind me, so that would go.
So that the school construction project, they won't have, whatever company we hire, they won't have their own construction manager?
Well, no, they do have their construction manager, but this is all the
Like a
internal.
GC or something?
Well, no, they have project managers that are under Compass is our OPM, and we also have an OPM from the library. If we were to say to them, and one, they don't have access to get into our financial system, but if we were to say to them, you need to take over all of the work that's done internally by town staff, you can look, I don't know how much I make an hour, but if you took my rate of pay, that would be probably half of what they would charge us. They would charge us probably $175 to $200 an hour that they would bill us to do these services.
Okay, thank you. I
welcome.
just wanted some clarification.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Floor?
Oh, hi, David Lurie. I have a question. So the total cost to run your office, is it the combination of the $160,800 combined with the budget that goes on to page 10 at $128,000? Is that the annual cost to run your office?
Our office actually is the 160. That's our staff and what we need to run our office. The 128,000 for centralized purchasing, those are the contracts that I manage for numerous town departments, for core services, telephone, regional purchasing services under Plymouth County and Sursage. We have a membership with those. Office supplies, we buy numerous office supplies throughout the town. All of the copy machines, I manage that contract as well, and we also manage the cell phone contract as well.
Right, so those costs would be there regardless of whether your office was in place or not? Like,
Correct.
Is that true? Okay, so
Correct.
the only cost to the town to run your office is the $160,800, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I just did some, looking at the numbers, if it's 168 times 3 years, right? Because you said that you saved the town $1,100,000 over 3 years?
Correct.
So your office costs the town $482,400, so the difference is really what you're saving the town because you take out the cost to run your office. Is that fair?
I would think that's fair.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Bill?
Yeah, I have a question. It's probably more directed towards the manager. When the school was passed in the exclusion, they said all the costs were covered in that $125 million or whatever it was. Shouldn't some of the money be reimbursed back to the town if we're doing some of that work?
No.
Cost of other
The
towns.
bills have got to be paid. Some weeks, we will spend $30,000 and $40,000. Under state law, construction must be paid in 14 days, or there's a penalty. And that's all internal. Like she said, they don't have access to our financial system to pay bills. So it's just like when you were a town employee, you did a requisition, it resulted in a purchase order, resulted in an invoice, and it was all entered into the system, and the treasurer's office sent out a check. Same thing. It's just that all this is going to be done in her office.
I understand that part, and that bills have to be paid in a much timely manner than they used to be. But again, why wouldn't some money from that $125 million, you know, if her costs for doing the schoolwork, I'm talking the procurement office work, it could be either or person that works in there.
Because it's no different. For example, we have a $6.6 million project approved for the water department. That will be done in-house. That's not part of the cost of doing that project.
But we did a debt exclusion that was supposed to cover all the costs.
It would have cost all the costs of design and construction, and that's what the debt exclusion said, design and construction. It didn't say processing and paying the bills. That's an internal function that's performed by town employees.
Well, this is going to come up again down in other budgets, but that's...
I understand it, Jody, but, you know, it is what it is. You could not have bonded the cost of what they're doing, because that's the cost of doing business. It's internal to the town. It's not eligible to float bonds. That's considered operations. It's not considered capital. You can bond for the capital part, but not the operations part.
Yeah, I just listened to a lot of the building committees, and they said everything is included from nuts to everything, you know, and I just thought...
If in fact we wanted to farm this out to the OPC, she's right. You could do that, and you'll do it at between $175 and $200 an hour.
And then
Which
you'd
would-
pay interest on that for 20
Which would
years.
exponentially include the cost of the project. Yeah, you can have the project manager do it, but if you do, then it's not a $123 million project, it's probably closer to a $128 million project.
So do we have to, so are we paying the GC, the general contracting company, and they're paying all the plumbing and everything, or are we paying all the separate bills?
I'll let Maureen explain that.
So when we get the bills, and if you're around next Tuesday, we'll be doing our pre-qualification packages, which will be arriving. This entire Great Hall will be full from people who want to do business here and get qualified to bid on this job. So when you have a construction project, right now at the beginning of the project, we probably get five invoices a month. We get the designer, we get the OPM, and we have Consigli, who's our construction manager, over at the high school. We get an invoice from them. And the same, we get the designer and the OPM on the library. There might be an office supply that we might buy. There might be surveying. There might be some peer review. Not many. It really doesn't take a lot of time right now to do. If it takes us a half hour a month, that's generous. The bidding process, you know, takes a lot, and that's not something that we can farm out, that's legal to farm that out to somebody else to do. As we go forward, we'll be getting invoices for testing companies on both the high school and the library, because they have to test the structural steel, the foundation, any soils that might be questionable. They test a lot of things, the concrete. We were talking about this today. We've decided that we're going to take that bidding of the testing company in-house rather than give it to the OPMs to do as an additional service. We think we have about $150,000 worth of testing. They get a 10% markup on anything they do. That's going to save us $15,000 if we handle it inside our office. They'll call for the test, they'll get the test, we'll just do the bidding. So we look at other ways to keep that cost down. Did I answer it enough?
I think so.
You're welcome to stop in, and we'll show you the invoices and our process
Okay.
of what we do.
I'm not going to belabor it.
Okay.
Yeah, good idea. I'll let Steve go first. He's got a question.
Sorry, just a couple clarifying questions. You said the,
Turn your mic on. You got your mic on?
is it not on? You said the deputy procurement officer had additional responsibilities that they weren't expected. Were those reflected in any job description?
We didn't revise the job description. We believe that the grade is correct as far as, you know, where this person is placed on the scale. We feel that that grade is that, but on the job description it says will assist, will support in that, and she's actually managing many contracts. She is very devoted to managing the processes down at DPW for their contracts. In the beginning, I would have to go in and help her and do that, and because she had to step up to the plate, because we had construction come on, she just took that over herself and flawlessly. So that's something that wasn't anticipated that that role would ever take. So no, I didn't ask for a whole reclassification. We said, you know, we can live within that. We'll see how it goes, and if it continues, then we'll have to address that at a future year, but I don't think it's within the next year or two.
And is it safe to say, just from what you said, that without that position of the Deputy Procurement Officer, you would be unable to support all the construction?
I would be unable to support, we would have to do that with consultant services. And just extra things that I do here, I've done training for all the employees for Procurement 101. We have a procurement handbook now. So all those extra things would go. It would be a production office. We manage 187 contracts. We're busy.
And then on the second sheet, central purchasing, that 18,000 for office supplies, you said that's for,
That's group.
do you handle all the office supplies for the whole, which departments? Is it just the town hall, or
It's mostly town hall.
just town hall? Okay.
That's the same dollar figure.
I did not change that at all. I also took over the telephones. Before, this was managed by somebody else, but it came to my office in the changeover of Munis. We've been starting to look at how we spend money. I will say that in office supplies, we had gone back to 2010 and found a almost $2,000 credit that was sitting on the books. The town accountant was looking to buy new furniture, and I said, you know, I just negotiated with WB Mason, and we can use that for office furniture. So rather than put that in the budget for next year, because he has the original desk when the town hall was built and they're falling apart, he's going to be able to use that credit. We also looked at the telephones, and our telephone services, and I know this is something that I believe Roberta has brought up on more than one occasion, that how come we're spending so much for phones? We looked in, and we weren't paying the state contract rates, so we went in and negotiated those rates, and we were able to reduce that by $6,000 this year. And we'll look for next year to see if we can tighten it up a little more.
That's it.
Okay. You still want to talk, Roberta?
I still,
Last
thank you.
question, we're kind of beating this one up here.
I know, but I still want to go back to the additional responsibilities because of the school project, the library project, and the DPW project. How much of your time would you say, percentage-wise, is being taken up by, or will be taken up by those projects?
It all depends on what weeks. This
Or
week,
what phase you're in?
well, this phase now, we're into pre-qualification, which is, I'm just going to describe it as a hideous, laborious task that is mandated by the state. And since December 15th to now, it's taken up a lot of our time. I've had, I think, 165 people respond. We have to evaluate them. We have to call references. So that has taken up a lot of the time. Once we get into full swing construction and the bidding is done, it'll level off. So now we're in a really busy phase of the construction, is the bidding process. Then it'll be a lull for a while. Then we'll go into the purchasing of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which is another very detailed, a lot of bidding, a lot of competitive procurement on that, and that will take up time. So it'll be a peak and valley.
All right, well, what I'm getting at is this, is that since so much of the time is going to be taken up during the year, not just one week to another week, it would be my suggestion that the school contribute something, and the library from their budget, the school from their budget, and the DPW from their budget, that would be appropriate proportionally to divide up for the extra time that you're having to spend on those things. So that would be my last comment on that. I think the school should be paying for something that is being done in-house. I'm glad it's being done in-house this way, and I think it's probably being done, a very good job being done. But but I think the schools should be contributing something toward this department, as should the library, as should the DPW with the added work. I think the budget should be cut proportionally to help to spend this particular budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks. All right, let's move on to centralized purchasing. We already touched upon it anyways, but Maureen, you want to just go over that real quick?
So centralized purchasing are core services that are shared by many town departments. Advertising and freight is used by everybody in the town. In-service training and education, should there be a training or other thing that's done on a global, that there is a small line in that for any supplies or anything we need out of that. Regional purchasing services, that money is used for our membership in Sursage. They do a lot of the DPW bids. We're in a 20-town consortium, and we get the best prices that are out there probably in the Commonwealth. We couldn't get these prices if we bid these individually. So that's a membership in that. And we also have a membership in Plymouth County, which cost us $200 a year. And through that contract, we buy the police cars, and a lot of the service vehicles, fire cars, would come out of that contract as well. Those are items that you can't bid on your own because nobody will bid on them. They say buy through the contract. Telephone is used throughout the town, and in this telephone budget, we also have for telephone repairs, whenever we need repairs, we have, let me see, I wrote this down. We cover all of the regular phone, long distance, voice and data, faxes, T1 lines, any repairs, and we cover some of the cost of the Sprint cell contract that we have. We assume some of that for people who need core service, like Paul in facilities. We cover the cost of his phone.
Okay. As you guys can see, it's basically a level-funded budget, no increase, a little bit, I guess. We went down, they moved the postage over to the treasurer's office. It's pretty much that. We all good with this one? Anybody want to say anything? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.